I'm such a poser, how do you explain that I have this Benediction album? Welcome to what is allegedly a show. The background music for you today is Malignant Altars, Retribution of Jealous Gods. Today I am talking for hopefully the last time about the virus thing, but I got to thinking, I figure I've pretty much mentioned it in half of my episodes now, and since it's going to be around for a while, I'll just do a one and done thing where I recommend 3 great songs to listen to during a plague. Ooh, breaking benediction. I actually did just get this like 3 weeks ago, funny enough. If any good can come from this, it would be exploring new artists that I otherwise wouldn't have if it hadn't been for this whole debacle. And if there's any good that could come from this channel, it would be that maybe somebody hears about a band they didn't know before and they go out and support them after seeing this. Since I am, after all, the average expert. I've got to add something here. If you've lost your job because of this, or if you're like me and you've had your hours reduced, obviously I'm not talking to you in a holier-than-thou way, go support artists at any costs. Please don't do that. Just do whatever you can. Just listen to them. If that's all you can do, I understand. Anyways, on to the merch cave. If you watched my last episode, you might have seen me do this little bit called the merch cave. You know, I'm just using the laundry room next door for it, and the laundry room kind of smells like ass. So the merch cave today is just going to be on the table right here, and I might as well use Malignant Altars' little offering here as the first thing. I got this some time ago, can't remember exactly when, but it sounds great. I'm not going to try and review the music because I'm not a musical master, but what I love is anytime something comes with goodies as well, hooking it up with the stickers and the advertising. I don't know if some people might be annoyed to get adverts like this from metal labels, but honestly, when it's good art like that, I love getting stuff like this. Like, I could go print off 1 million copies of it and put it all over the place. I think that's awesome. That adds a lot of value. Obviously, the music comes first, but, you know, if you're going to add value to it, add value like this. I mean, look at this poster. Look at the size of this. Like, in many ways, that's even better than receiving just the vinyl. So kudos to that. Check that out if you haven't already. I guess if you're one of the people that actually watches this, you probably already know about them. Malignant Altar. But this time I'd like to just give a great thanks to all of my close family, friends, acquaintances, relatives, pets, friends of friends who have decided to support me on this endeavor. It's pretty much everybody I know in the world right now, and thanks a lot. Hit the subscribe button now so that you too can say, hey, I hit a button. God damn it. Speaking of good value, here's a piece of merch that you can get on Bandcamp for under $5. This is from Vargeist Records. If I'm pronouncing that right, probably not. Vargeist Records or something. This is a nice 8-track CD that came from the band Flesh Congregation. Vargeist Records is, from what I can tell, a relatively small label from South Carolina, and they're good at keeping costs low with these, you know, the slim cases. Is it the best album I've heard all year? I wouldn't say so, but I'm comparing it to some awesome stuff that I've listened to, so maybe you would love it. I definitely am going to buy from them in the future, including that band. And again, here's some promotional material that's almost looks like it's worth more than the product itself. Focuses on what truth dwells beyond human demise. When I come across a band like this that I've never heard of before, this poster is the only thing that's ever told me anything about them. That's a time when you don't have to ask yourself why. You have to ask yourself, why not? Which brings us to the 3 Plague albums. First, the honorable mentions. Back in what must have been 2014 or 2015, I saw Winds of Plague, and they were with Oceano. Oceano was on their second album. They were on the cycle for their second album, which was called Contagion. So Oceano playing songs from Contagion with Winds of Plague. You want to talk about ahead of the curb. Alright, so to get into the meat of this shite post, let's start with the obvious. The first Plague-related album. It's by a band called Plague. If you want a good review of this album, I'd recommend going to Sleeping Village and reading what they have to say. This is one of those cases where the album art is a great reflection of the quality that you're going to get in the album itself. It's old school death metal, it's technical, not predictable. My personal favorite song so far, I'd say probably Cave of Vectors, but make sure to give Pandemic a listen in this time. Anyways, that's it for Plague from Greece. That album came out on Redefining Darkness Records in February of this year. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to Plague from the Netherlands. This version of Plague appears to be fronted by iDubbbz. I'm just kidding, but we are going to be talking about another band called Plague, this one with the album Dead Is the Day. This Plague is an independent band that you can find the entire album of on YouTube right here. Very melodic, thrashy death metal. It's got grit to it, it's fun. I wouldn't say I've listened to it enough to pick out a favorite track, but by all means, if you like the other Plague, check these guys out. Lastly, switching it up from a band called Plague to a band called The Rising Plague. This is an American group, these guys from Iowa. I actually had the pleasure of seeing them a couple of months back. I think if you like Dead Is the Day by the last band, you would also like The Rising Plague, although it's a little bit more polished in the production, not as gritty. It's still fun, still has that death metal feel to it. I would say maybe a little bit more of a deathcore influence, a little less old school, feels definitely like something that would have come out recently. Well, I guess that's kind of a dumb thing to say because it came out in 2017, so of course it sounds recent. Anyways, go listen to it. Anyway, that takes care of the average poser for this week. Thank you for listening to me blab about metal. Hopefully you go check out some of those bands, or maybe you already knew about them, and now you know that there's one more person funding them, I guess. Probably going to be about 2 weeks before the next upload because of family time constraints, but that's all the more reason to subscribe, because it means that I won't be spamming you with updates. Typically, this is where I would do a half-drunk review of a chapter in a book, but because I didn't have time to read it this week, here is a meme and a picture of my cat. Also, forgot to mention, media links will be in the description after I post this, and go ahead and check me out on Instagram and Facebook as well. First called The Plague, they rehearsed in a basement under a shoe store which belonged to Martin W.'s parents. First gig performed in 1999, split up later that year, and reformed in 2002 as Plague.